One. What is up, everyone? Hope you're all doing good. My name is Mitchell Forbes. I'm the host of the Just Jacks Golf Podcast. I'm joined weekly by Sam Keston, the COO over at Four Links, where we discuss what's gone on previously on tour, what's to come, and our picks, our fantasy picks for the upcoming week on tour, which this week is, of course, the Genesis Invitational. But before we go into too much depth on that, let's talk all things Pebble Beach, another eventful week on tour, some solid performances from some big names, but as good as it was, disappointing finish. Sam, what are your thoughts after that week in Pebble?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: the tournament had a pretty weak field, and given the weak field, I think they got a pretty good group on the leaderboard come Sunday. You know, Patrick Cantlay was up there, Spieth was up there. You know, obviously Daniel Berger, who had a pretty good summer and had kind of been quiet since then, ends up winning with a pretty incredible eagle at the last. So I think given that it could have been, a little bit of a snoozer given the field, I think we got more than we could have hoped for maybe. But how are you not disappointed that Spieth couldn't bag it,
Yeah, man, I'm in the same boat. Like, given the fact he had a 2-shot lead going into Sunday, keeping my head and my heart completely separate, I generally thought he would have managed to have got the job done with a 2-shot lead. Given his prestige, given the amount of times he's won, given how comfortable he is around the golf course, given how he was playing, I thought 2-shot lead was going to be comfortable enough for him to go out there and win. What I will say is very encouraging to see him birdie the last 2 holes. You could have said it was a little bit too late, but that tells me something about his mental game, where it's at, that he was still able to produce the birdies to give himself as good a chance as possible. I think the nail in the coffin was the 6 he made on 15. That seemed to sort of close. That seemed to sort of dead it for him. That said, unbelievable performance from Daniel Berger to win.
Yeah, I mean, he played a pretty flawless Sunday. What did he shoot? 65. Did he make any? He made 1 bogey at 8 when he hit it left and couldn't get up and down short side there. But and especially at 18, with a what was, I believe at the time, a 1-shot lead. To know that, okay, I got a 1-shot lead. There are guys behind me that have a par 5 to play. I'm not sure if he knew at the time that Lashley had made that triple on 16. So I don't know if he might have been in a little bit more comfortable of a spot than he thought he was. But, to step up and blister that 3-wood right to the middle of the green, perfect shape, and then hit that putt, perfect speed, dives over the front edge of the hole. Just the way you draw it up, it's kind of hard not to say anything other than, you tip your cap. It was a hell of a job. But Spieth, I think with Spieth, he did that thing that you see people who are uncomfortable in the position they're in do, where he shoots himself out of it. I mean, the first 6 holes, he was basically out of it. Until he made that birdie on 7, I thought he was done. It was sloppy. He hits it over. He drives it in the bunker on 3, hits it over the back, makes bogey there. Has to scramble to save par at the par 5-6, which is a really short par 5, very reachable. I think he was like 2 over through 6, and like at Pebble, the first 7 are like where you got to get yours. You look at the people who, didn't Berger birdied the first 3, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Berger birdie's the first, like that's where you make your hay at Pebble. Like 2, is usually in the U.S. Opens is a difficult par 4. In this tournament, it's an easy par 5. And so to come through 1 through 7, over par, that really put him, pretty dramatically behind the 8 ball. I was proud to see him fight his way back into it, and he was into it all the way to the end, I believe. But, I just think it was one of those where it almost, in talking about the 2-shot lead, you almost could argue that it would have been better had he been tied or 1 behind. And instead of coming out feeling like this is mine to lose and tentative and not really of a mind to go make birdies and it kind of felt like he was playing not to lose rather than playing to win. And he might have been better off maybe starting the day tied or 1 back, feeling like I had to go do something to win. Yeah. But it was you can look at it both ways. I mean, it's really encouraging to see back-to-back weeks where Spieth's in contention and doing it with best, but still able to keep himself in the mix, but disappointing.
Yeah, I'm on the exact same wavelength. I think the two things that stood out for me this week, Sam, we every week we talk about the ability to go out there and win, and I think this week of all weeks summed up perfectly that the two things that are really fucking important on Sunday are putting and momentum. And if you feel like off the first, Jordan Spieth wrestles a shot into about like 7 or 8 feet, lips out, and I'm just like, it's weird. Golf's such a strange sport. You almost know off that first hole where this is going. And I saw that and I was just like, ugh, this doesn't bode well for the rest of the day. Like he's already made 2 hole-out eagles in the week. Like, is he run out of steam a bit too early? And Daniel Berger putted fucking incredibly. Like, there's no two ways about it. He putted very, very well when he had to. And that seems to be the winning formula. Winning on PGA Tour is finding the hot streak with the putt on the Sunday. And I think to do that, you've got to build momentum. Like, Tiger always says about his wins, what's consistent about them is, generally speaking, he grows into the tournament, right? Thursday isn't usually his best scoring day on average. To put it like that, he built into the tournament.
Interrupt you, but can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For some reason, I can't hear the audio on your side.
Can you hear the audio now?
There we go.
Okay. I know what that is. Cool. No worries.
Got it.
At least I know now.
That whole last segment there.
Where did I get to?
Once I stopped talking, when you started talking again, I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah. So I guess going back then, what I think is really important in order for someone to win on the PGA Tour, we talk about the ability to win a lot on this podcast, and it seems that on a Sunday, momentum and making putts is the winning formula, right? And I think you look at the first, Jordan Spieth gets the ball to 7 or 8 feet, lips out. I'm like, is his luck run out now? Like, he's made 2 hole-out eagles throughout the week. He's played some good stuff, but you've got to convert those opportunities with a really strong chasing pack with Cantlay, Berger, Paul Casey, etc. So, look, I think from Jordan Spieth's perspective, he can build on yet another good week, but I think this one will sting more than last week. Given the fact that he had a 2-shot lead, given the fact that he was outplayed on that last day from Berger, who converted the putts when he had to. He's a shining example of what winning is on the PGA Tour. It's making your putts on Sunday. And I think in order to do that, it's a case of building momentum throughout the week and not playing your best stuff on Thursday. I know it sounds weird and people win in different ways. And of course, a stellar Thursday can set you up beautifully. But Tiger, if you look at Tiger's wins historically, he's always built into the tournament. And I think there is an element of momentum. It's hard to pinpoint because it's hard to put any stats around momentum. It's like a feel thing. I think golfers will understand that. But it seems that Jordan Spieth rode that sort of momentum wave a little bit too early and peaked out maybe on Saturday.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I also think, too, that when he drove the ball poorly again. And I think that when you drive the ball poorly, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you can kind of squeeze as much juice out of the orange as you can.
Yeah.
But it'll catch up with you on Sunday. And I think you saw that with Spieth, especially early on in the round. That drive on 3 cost him a shot. The drive on 6 cost him a shot. The drive on it was either 9. The drive on 9 put him out of position where he can't attack the flag. The drive on the par 5 kind of made the layup a little bit more complicated. The drive on 11 took a birdie hole and made it not so much one. He hit a heck of a shot out of that right rough.
Yeah.
But that's dead. That's no angle out of the rough to a tucked hole location. You're not going to make a 3 from there. It was a pretty great shot just to get it on the green, period.
Yeah.
And so I think on Sunday, when you're not putting the ball in play, the birdies that you have to make just become that much harder to get, especially at a golf course like Pebble Beach, that is so much an angles golf course. You look at some of those hole locations on Sunday, and they're just from the wrong sides of the fairway. They're inaccessible. If that left hole location on 9, yeah, the right side's a better angle, but out of the rough on the right, you're not stopping the ball anywhere close to that front left hole location. On 11, you're not stopping it anywhere close to that back right hole location. Even like 13, you're going to have a harder time making birdie, spraying it into the right rough and crossing your fingers that you can judge, how it comes out of there. And he hit some good shots out of the rough. I mean, maybe he's just getting used to it. But when you hit the ball his length on Sunday, if you want to make birdies, you got to put the ball in play. I mean, he hit a great drive on 10. Can we talk for a second? How cool was that tee on 10?
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I noticed that.
I mean, the location of it just next to the ninth green is so cool, like right up on the ocean. And I just think from a strategic perspective, like, in June during a U.S. Open when that course can play firm, it's drivable from that tee. Will Gordon did it. Like, he blew it over the back of the green. But that may be as great a golf hole as 10 is, as a 495-yard par 4 from that way back tee on the left, is equally as good of a hole as it is almost drivable from that front right tee too. And I thought that was a big moment in Spieth's round to keep himself in it, to hit that great drive there after he'd driven the ball poorly most of the day, and had missed drives right and left. I mean, I don't think he had hit a fairway. He hit an iron at 8, but with a driver, I mean, he missed the fairway at 6. He had missed the fairway at 3. He had missed the fairway, I believe, at 2. And so for him to step up and hit that shot, that was big. It got him back into it. But ultimately, when you're driving it poorly, you're not gonna make the birdies you have to make at a golf course that you needed to score to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think moving forward, like, I want to hope that Jordan Spieth can build on it. It definitely seems like he's got that sort of swagger back. He's got the bounce in his step. He's hitting some better quality golf shots. Like, Spieth's not got the prettiest golf swing in the world, and when he doesn't sort of make his shots that he intends, you sort of think, well, where the fuck does he go from here? Because you think his swing's not looking good, the results aren't good. At least 2015 Spieth wasn't pretty, but was pretty flawless still. And in the last 2 weeks, I've seen elements of his approach game which I really like, which remind me of Jordan 3 or 4 years back, where, if you remember, his approach play was just fucking outstanding. He was 10 feet all day, every day, and he was making the putts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think although Jordan's game always seems further away from his best than it is, I think, just purely based on the fact he just hasn't got a very pretty swing. But I think, what's he got, a third in a... Where did he finish this week? Third again?
I think so, yeah.
Maverick McNeely finished second, I think. So, yeah, he's 2 third places at 2 strong competitions. It's onwards and upwards for Jordan, but you want to hope he can convert a win sooner or later, because I think that will be even harder. That'll be his biggest challenge. If he starts turning into a bit of a Tony Finau and starts listing off these top 5s, top 10s, that's going to really fuck with him.
Yeah, although I'll say this about him. I would worry less about him being able to rediscover the ability to close, as I would worry about him finding the tools that it takes to put him into the positions to do that.
Interesting.
I think if ever there were a guy who like kind of knows how to win, it's him, even though he's doing, right now it's that the foundation of his game is dicey, and so I think what we've seen the last couple of weeks, like, and he said it in the post interview, like, hey, I've got my B stuff at best out there, and I'm still keeping myself in the ball game. If he continues to do that, I expect him to winning. The question is, can he sustain a level of play that makes him, a guy that gets himself in a position to win a lot? Or is this, for 2 weeks, the mountain comes to Muhammad and he figured it out, and managed to get a sniff when, maybe his game didn't necessarily warrant it, but he managed to squeeze as much juice out of the stone as he could. I think, I think he strikes me as, as somebody who just badly needed to have something good happen for him. And even though he didn't win either of the events, like, at least it's something to make him feel like he's moving in the right direction. I think there was a while there where it felt like all he's doing is taking hits, playing poorly, not content, not competing, and that continues to go on and on and on. You can develop a sense of despair about your game and yourself, and so I think just to have kind of 2 good weeks, I didn't get the impression from him either last week or this week that he was crazy disappointed. I almost got the impression that he was encouraged. Like, you know, like they were telling him like 2 weeks. He was like 2 weeks ago, I was in like an amazingly dark place, you know, and we did a lot of great work between the miscut of Torrey Pines and Phoenix. And it was great to kind of see that work take hold quickly that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he needed this. While it would have been big for him to get a win too, it would have helped quiet some of the noise kind of around his slump. I still think that he probably goes home at the end of these 2 weeks feeling like I'm closer to being the guy I used to be.
Yeah, as well, I think, you know, aside from that, which obviously he'll be completely focused on his form and getting better, there's some valuable FedEx Cup and Ryder Cup points in the bag for Jordan that he desperately needed. We're looking at sort of players who, you know, we've sort of inked into the Ryder Cup teams and in the majors, and you know, like they're in a danger of not making the tournaments that we're accustomed to seeing them in. I think Ricky Fowler's outside the top 50 now. He's currently doesn't qualify for the Masters. Like for me, Ricky Fowler and the Masters, that they fucking go together. It'll be fucking weird seeing Ricky Fowler not at the Masters. So I think Jordan, although you could say he needed the win, and you can say whatever about the state of his game, 2 top 5 finishes are going to do in the world of good for the tournaments upcoming this year and for the Ryder Cup, which you'll desperately want to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think it'll be good for the game if he can get himself back into the mix. You know, I think he's such a lovable personality. You know, he's a guy that's easy to root for. I think it'll be great to kind of see him in contention again. And I think at Augusta, even if he brings the game he brought the last couple of weeks, if his iron play can be that solid, even if he's not driving the ball great, Augusta's shown us that you don't have to drive the ball great there to win. You know, and if he can putt and he can score and his iron play is where it seems to be, you know, I think he's an excellent dark horse choice, you know, come April at the Masters. That you know, he's obviously loves that golf course so much. You know, he's comfortable there. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the mix.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time to see his form come in. Like it whets the appetite, shall we say, to have a Jordan Spieth thrown into the mix at the Masters. I've missed his name from being part of the pre-tournament discussion, so very positive to see. Other notable sort of mentions from last week. I won the fantasy this week. Thank you very much. Took home the W. One person that completely baffled me, his performance, everything about the guy. And I just don't know what to think anymore. Is that Phil Mickelson? The guy can't find it. I know he's never been accurate off the tee, but fuck me, he's never looked more wild. And he still tries to hit 7 bells of shit out the golf ball. And it's like, have you not got a hybrid? Have you not got a 275-yard fairway finder? You must do. He must. Like, why can't someone of Phil's golfing intelligence ability, why can't he work into his game the fact that he needs to hit the short stuff in order to have a chance at making these cuts and contending in these tournaments? Like, why is he trying to hit the ball 330, man?
You know, I don't know what the right way to phrase this is, but it has kind of a midlife crisis-y vibe.
Yeah, it does as well.
Like, you know, he's 50. He's always been kind of like he's always had a very childlike quality to him, you know, and you know, which is an endearing aspect of his personality, that he always kind of feels like a big kid out there, you know, and I think that now he's hitting 50, you know, he's an older guy.
Yeah.
And I think so much of his you know, his self-image of himself as a golfer has been like, you know, that he pounds the ball down the fairway, you know, he pounds the ball long distances and does things other guys can't do, and you know, he's a magician around the greens, and a lot of those like ego boost type things. Now that he's getting to an age, I think it's just hard for him to accept, like, I'm gonna, you know, he doesn't seem to have embraced losing distance to the field the way Tiger seems to. Like, Tiger talks all the time now about how, look, like, think of me as like Greg Maddux towards the end of his career. Could he throw gas the way he used to? No, but you know, is he a savvier player? You know, is he a better thinker than he used to be? Can he plot his way around the golf course in a way that allows him to keep up with guys that hit it longer? You know, like, that's his approach now. Phil kind of still seems to be like, hey, I'm gonna keep up with even the you know, longest guys, even the youngest guys. like I care so much about speed and hitting bombs and whatever else, and you got to think that you go back and you look at the video, like you go watch that '04 Masters, his first major, or you go watch that like '04, '05, '06 era Phil that was like from that Augusta in '04 to like Winged Foot in '06, that run there. I mean, that was probably the best golf Phil's ever played, at least, especially from a major championship perspective.
Yeah.
And a big piece of that was that, especially at Augusta, the year he won, he was able to put the ball in play, hit those big cuts, and gave up yardage to play from the fairway. And it worked for him. It made a big difference, And so I think, I think maybe he needs to go back a little bit and look at what made him successful when he was successful in majors. And that was that he was, his iron play was fantastic, but he was playing from the fairway more, and I think if he can find it in him to subjugate the ego boost he gets out of length for the results boost he gets out of driving the ball in play, I think he's still got enough game in him. It's just it was an ugly week, that's for sure. I mean, he doubles 14, then he makes a 9 on
18.
On 8. Yeah, and like, I don't know if this, you could argue this one both ways, but like, did you see the video clip of him after he made the 9?
Yeah, and it was a bit jokey. He was like, Paul, what did he say? He said, Paul, that...
He said, I'm really crushing the par 5s because he had doubled 14, and he played the 2 par 5s on the back 6 over. And like, there's a part of you that, some people will say, hey, like, kudos to him to be able to take making a 9 with that degree of like, malevolence or whatever. But like, I think I would have liked to have seen him pissed off about that. He just shot him out of the tournament at a golf course he loves, at a place he should, he should be competitive, and I would have liked to have seen him pissed off. I'd like to see him like more bothered by the results, but
yeah, and it was weird. It's like he chipped. Did he chip in on 8 or 9 on Friday? And you think, oh, maybe he can carry that and make 3 or 4 birdies and make the cut. But you just, like, it's weird. He's missed the money bags, right? He's cashed out. He's making a fuck ton of money everywhere, right? Whether it be golf, sponsorships, matches, like you name it, he's got his name on it. He's making a fuck ton of money. So who I feel a bit like, who am I to judge him for being a bit jovial, where, I guess you could argue that is the best attitude when you are playing bad golf. But it's weird. It's like he's not bothered about winning anymore. It's almost like he's just bothered about having his name in the spotlight. Like, he's in an advert, he's got sunglasses on. It's just like, hit the fucking fairway and hit a green and make some putts and just start playing golf again. I feel like he's just lost a part of like who he is as a golfer, because if you look at all the stats, his strokes gained like around the green and down, putting it down. It was only 2 or 3 years ago he was second in putting on the PGA Tour. Like, and bad driving bleeds into the rest of your game like no other, because you're starting off the back foot. And it's like, why has he not got a circle that's telling him to put the ball in the fairway? He can hit a straight ball with an iron. Like, let's start there at least. It just baffles me. I just don't know what his game plan is these days. Is it just to be Phil, hitting bombs and making the odd footy comment and being around celebrities and superstars and making big bucks? Or is he serious about winning a major again? Because he's never been physically in better shape. I think he's definitely still got it. He can definitely still compete. It's like, but like, employ at least the most basic of golf strategies, and that's to keep the ball in play. I just can't get my head around why he's not.
Yeah, I mean, I also think too, one thing that Phil had always, like, part of that go for broke style with Phil is that there's always another hand of cards to be dealt, and that even if I lose this pot, I might win the next one, And I think there's probably a little bit of pressure on him internally that he knows his time is low, and that how much longer can he be competitive? And so I think, that might be applying some pressure internally in a way that is kind of a new feeling for him. Like part of being, he's very much a gambler in every sense of the word. And part of what makes a gambler is the knowledge that there's always another roll of the dice coming up, you know? And when you start to have that feeling of, I only have so many rolls of the dice left, you know, I think that might be, you know, that might be putting some pressure on him internally in a way that he hasn't experienced before, you know, and requires, you know, a certain amount of adapting on his part to feeling like, you know, I could see how the distance part of it comes from an attempt to elongate how long he can stay relevant, you know, that, okay, well, if I still hit the ball as far as everybody else, I should be able to keep up with them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Phil knows better than us, right? Who we to say anything, but like it would definitely be nicer to see Phil in contention rather than us talking about his bombs or whatever. It's like the novelty's worn off for me. Like it was funny initially. I loved it. It brought the more personable side of him. I instantly liked him better as a guy. I had him down as a bit of a sinister character before, to be honest. Felt like he had a load of skeletons in his closet sort of guy. But that definitely warmed me up to him. But it's like gone on a bit too long now. I'm like, Phil, I just want to see you compete with the best players in the world on a Sunday at some tournament. Just can you go out there and please do it? Because you know how to. You've done it 40, 50 odd times. So disappointing week for Phil. We'll see how he bounces back. And one other talking point before we head on off to this week's fantasy picks at the Genesis is Ashkay Batcher.
Yeah, that kid.
What a performance!
You know,
like, what a fucking cool performance that was on Thursday. That's a cool start. All 18 green and regulations for a 19-year-old is sublime.
Especially at that golf course.
Fuck,
you know,
yeah.
Pebble.
Tiny
greens.
Sure,
yeah, Pebble. I'm pretty sure has the smallest greens on the PGA Tour.
Do you know the whole front nine? You can fit the whole front nine green square meterage into the first green at St Andrews.
Yeah, I had heard something along those lines before. Yeah. You know, I think. You know what was really cool? Did you see that story? I think his name is Kevin Hall, the deaf golfer.
No.
So I guess he got there's a guy named Kevin Hall who got an exemption into the tournament, who is a deaf golfer, and he had an amazing week. Like Jack Nicklaus made a video explaining to him how to play Pebble Beach, which I thought was pretty cool. He was like, "You always got to be mindful of where the ocean is and spend your entire day with your back to the oceen. You know, like you never want."
I'm surprised he was like, "Jack, I appreciate the advice, but I'm deaf, not blind."
Well, actually, Jack made a funny point. He said he's like not Stillwater Cove, not like you want to know where the ocean is. That's where the whole golf course, you know, and he's like, everything you do, you want to stay on the downhill side of the, you know, like on the correct side of the flag. You know, you never want to be playing towards the flag and the ocean at the same time, which I thought was cool advice. And then, so Kevin Hall also got to spend like some time with Jim Nance at Nance's house. And you know how Nance has that replica of 7 in his backyard? Yeah. He made a hole-in-one on Nance's.
Oh shit! I saw that video. I didn't realize that was the guy. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
That was the guy. Yeah.
With the Jim Nance commentary as well.
Yeah, Nance providing the commentary. So I thought that was a cool story. Like, you know, he was also like an Ohio State guy, so that's how Jack had kind of gotten involved, and it was a heartwarming story. I mean, I can't imagine trying to play the game of golf without the auditory component of the noise of impact. Like so much of, like, I know how I'm hitting the ball based on how it sounds, you know?
Yeah, it would be really interesting, although it's completely amazing, but it would be really interesting to, I guess, understand from his perspective where his feels come from and what a good shot feels like for him. Like, is there something in his hands that tells him it's pure? Is there, like, what do you, yeah, it would just be an interesting perspective to hear, because like you say, sound is a huge element of it. Like, even if it's like practice swings going through the rough, you can gauge how thick that rough is and how the ball's going to come out based off the sound of the club head brushing through. Same on short, same all my short game shots, like all pitching around the green. I use the sound a lot, and because it goes hand in hand with the bounce of the club, and it's like it's a big part of your feel component. So it'd be really interesting to understand what his triggers are.
For sure, and just kind of the perspective. I mean, I guess he wouldn't know the difference, but like, you know, to be able to kind of understand. like I imagine, and they say this all the time, that people who lose, one sense or another, whether it's sight or whether it's hearing or whatever, that they compensate for it, by having stronger other senses to help, provide the information that the missing can't provide. And so I would bet you that there's a component of his like feel and touch, that he has a very finely honed sense of that. And it would be interesting to kind of listen to him talk about that. But I just thought it was a cool story. Changing from a cool story to a sad story. Poor Nate Lashley. Oh, that guy. Oh. I mean, he's tied for the lead. And that goes to show you, though, and to Jack's point, that goes to show you just how. I mean, he hit by all accounts a pretty good second shot into 16 that was a yard or two too far. And you put yourself on the wrong side there, and all of a sudden it's all right. And, now I've got a chip I can't get close. Now I've got a downhill putt back towards the water, and he ends up 4-putting from 13. I mean, that might have cost him $500,000, that episode on the 16th green.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the guy's 38 years old and only just sort of coming through. So you kind of got to think that, that's happened an awful lot to him, because he's quite clearly got an amazing golf game. He wouldn't be where he's at if he didn't. But he choked. He choked bad, like that. And it's in golf's a sport which is so like exposing in those choke moments, right? There's just no escape. There's no team member to take the blame. There's no like it doesn't get diluted very easily. It's there for everyone to see. You fucking choked, and like it's hard to watch, but. Fair play to the guy. He still finished okay in a tough tournament. We'll see how he bounces back, but I mean that's hard for anyone to take.
I mean, a couple holes before that, I was pretty well convinced he was going to win, because he was down the middle of every fairway.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, it seemed like he hit every fairway, and he was having what appeared to be like the most stress-free round of golf of anybody, save for Berger, I suppose. And you don't get a lot of chances to win a tournament at a great golf course like Pebble, so I'm sure he was upset, and you could just see it. Like, golf's tough. Like Tiger talks about this too. Is he says like in golf, like there's no like the manager comes and pulls you off the mound, or like in hockey how like a goalie will get like taken out of the game. Like in golf, like you got you have that meltdown on 16, you want to go bury yourself in a fucking bunker somewhere. Like, you still got to play 17 and play 18, and know that every mistake you make, even from there in, is going to cost you more money, So it's, I felt for the guy, it was just, you could see it written all over his face how upset he was. And
yeah,
it was,
it's tough, but it's golf, right? And like Kevin Kisner put so eloquently the other week, 20th place doesn't pay too badly either. And I know he's finished inside the top 10, so I'm sure he'll have a nice paycheck to dry his tears with. Moving on to this week, Sam, possibly top 5 of my, like outside the majors, is probably a top 5 event for me is the Genesis. What I love about it more than anything is the fact that the players love it. And it's always nice to know you're watching a golf tournament where the players really want to be there. That's like on the top of the schedule. I want to play the Genesis. Always has a stellar lineup. Tiger Woods, the host, of course. Let's dive into this week's picks.
All righty. I mean, what a great field, by the way.
Oh, by the way, your local course at one point, right?
Yeah, at one point, yeah. Back in the good old days when until I turned 26, they had junior memberships that you could have that ran until you were 26. And the day I turned 26, I remember how sad a day that was to have that disappear. But I know this golf course extremely well. Played it probably hundreds of times. It's there's a reason why all the pros love it, and there's a reason why it gets such a great field. I think it's considered by most to be, if you throw out the major championships, that this is going to be one of the 3 best golf courses you play all year. And to go from Pebble Beach to Riviera, it's a pretty cool 1-2 punch. So I think it'll be fun to watch. I mean, this field is fantastic. Like, look at our Group A. Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas. Not a lot of missing names from Group A.
Any missing names?
Yeah, I mean, Riviera is a golf course that's difficult to figure because you can play it almost any way. Like, I don't view it as a golf course that favors any one particular player type over another. Like, you can be a bomber, but that doesn't like length helps everywhere. Like it obviously helps have shorter clubs in, but I really view it, as a second shot golf course more than anything else. And so I think there's no style that when executed well won't work here. Like you don't have to be a crazy birdie making machine. You're not gonna have to shoot 25 under to win. 12 to 16 maybe. I don't think the weather is supposed to be too bad. I don't think it's supposed to blow too hard or anything. So I don't imagine that it'll be particularly difficult by in comparison to what the golf course can be. DJ's ball flight, I think, is a good fit for a lot of the holes there. I think a fade works well at holes like 1, 2, 3, not so much 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. Like you can cut the ball almost everywhere there. So it's hard for me. I mean, DJ just came off a win in Saudi Arabia, took a week off to rest. I think I can't pick against DJ.
Yeah, I mean it is tough to go anywhere else but DJ, given the quality of golf he's managed to sustain for such a long period of time now. I think it was September where he picked up his first comeback, his win in COVID, something around then. So he's been playing well for a good 6 months. But I'm tempted, with this group being so strong and with good reasoning to pick a few of the guys there. I think this is a good group to go low ownership on. Just because I think everyone will back DJ naturally, and I think that's a great choice. But I think this could be a defining group in terms of like picking the right low ownership choice. I see Xander Schauffele is a bagsman for the top 20. John Rahm, not too sure. Koepka's obviously coming in quietly into this event because obviously he didn't play last week, and he's coming off the back of a win. So that's Brooks and DJ both coming off the back of wins. You got Justin Thomas, who's knocking on the door still. Rory McIlroy is showing plenty of good signs, but hasn't put 4 rounds together. And in this strong a field, will he get exposed? But then again, he's come off the back of a very strong final round at the Waste Management. I'm sure he'll be feeling very confident in his game as well. It's a tough Group A this week. I'm not going DJ. I'm going Rory McIlroy. I'm backing big time to go out there and win. He's well due a win. I want to see him on 18 on Sunday with the trophy in his hands. I'm going for heart over head with this pick. I'm going Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Rory, it'll come down to, can he drive the ball in play? I think, and his wedge game's a little bit dicey for me. I think, although there's not a crazy amount of wedge opportunities there.
There's quite a few runoff areas, isn't there, at Riviera?
Yeah, and that's relatively new at that golf course.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna bode well for it. I think Rory's going against my own pick here, but it seems like his spin control with his wedges doesn't seem to be good. That's what I see as like being a bit of a gap in his game. Maybe is when he does hit his yardage, it spins back a mile, and it's off the front of the green. I don't see him hit many wedges pin high these days.
Yeah, and I think I also think that I'm not sure how well he manages his game at times. I think he's kind of one of those guys that when he gets hot, he fires at all the flags, and if he's playing well, he makes a ton of birdies and whatnot. But one of the tricks to Riviera, in my view, is you always have to stay on the proper side of the hole, and that if you short side yourself, it's really easy to get going the wrong way there. You'll see a fair amount of rounds over par, even if it's not hard, because you just have, if your game is not precise enough where you can control your misses in the proper spots, you're going to pay for it, And so I think it remains to be seen if he can control his ball well enough to navigate his way around that golf course the way that you have to in order to be able to have success over 72 holes. But I still think, you could throw a dart at a dartboard of these 6 names and not be upset with any one of them. Koepka just played great a couple weeks ago at the Waste Management, and his game is showing signs of improvement, and that he might be getting closer to that form where, we had become accustomed to seeing. Justin Thomas is a guy whose game really seems to, he strikes me as a guy that's a very strategic player, thoughtful player, good fit at this golf course, good ball flight for this golf course. I just don't think you can go wrong with any of these 6 guys. So I like your thought process of taking a low ownership guy and hoping DJ has kind of an off week and sinks, half the field or whatever. Even if it's not if he doesn't miss the as middling week, to pick up 4 or 5 shots in this group by picking the guy. Because you got to think, there's at least one top 5 in this group, I would think.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you need to consider here as well, for those who are thinking about picking DJ, is he putted probably the worst I've seen him putt at Saudi. He got the win, but the guy, his stroke was awful. On Sunday, he putted dreadfully. And I'm not sure how that confidence in his putter is going to carry into Poana Greens. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the guys who seem to have success on Poana are guys who jam the ball a little bit more. The Poana greens get a little flowery at the end of the day. And so if you're one of those guys who hits your 3-4 footers pretty hard, I think that serves you in good stead here. I think it's tougher if you're a feeder of the ball, it'll get a little bumpy late in the day. And it's just tougher to make putts at slower speeds when greens get like that. But it's anybody's guess in this group. Group B: Adam Scott, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Hideki Matsuyama, Bryson DeChambeau, Jordan Spieth. This shows you how good the field is, right? Like this Group B is better than even Group C is better than Group A was last week. Adam Scott's had success at this golf course. I think being a very good driver of the ball helps him out immensely there. I could see Patrick Cantlay played well last week. Matsuyama's a little bit too much of a wild card for me this week. Morikawa at the top of his game would be a great fit here.
I was going to say, with his iron play.
Yeah, as a very good iron player, I think he would be a guy that would have a ton of success here. I just don't know how close to firing on all cylinders he is. I don't like this golf course for Bryson at all. I think hitting the ball 380, it just doesn't do you. It doesn't do you a crazy amount of good here. 1 is the most reachable par 5 in the universe. 11 is reachable for most if you hit the fairway, and the fairway also cuts off at for those guys probably 350 anyway. I think 17. He might have an easier time reaching, but I still think most guys can reach 17 depending on the conditions. So and 10's a drivable par 4 for everybody, not just him. So I don't know that the extra length is going to be a huge plus, and I think that spraying the ball off the tee it can kill you here. So I don't like him. Spieth, for the same reason, don't like him. I think I'm going to go with Cantlay.
Yeah, it's a good pick. He seems to play particularly well in California, does Patrick Cantlay. Obviously had a stellar Thursday last week, didn't really build on it all that much. But yeah, I like that pick because, again, is Bryson a bit too aggressive for this course? You know better than most. Adam Scott, he's putting some decent performances, but nothing amazing. Yeah, Jordan Spieth, it hasn't been very good off the tee, but you just like that momentum he's got coming into this week with 2 top 5 finishes in his bag. So I'm sort of looking past his driving stats and going off feel a bit on this. I just feel like Jordan Spieth's hot, and he's playing for the 3rd week in a row. He'll be well in his stride. Pebble's not a million miles away from LA. I don't know. I just kind of like the way he's played his way into this week. And it's a chance he'll be really up for this week because it's the strongest field that he's had to play in. Especially over the waste management and over Pebble. This is by far the strongest field. So, if you can prove your form anywhere, it's at the Genesis Tigers event. I think he'll be up for this week, and I expect him to play well despite a poor driving display.
Yeah, he loves it there too. I actually was there when he won that national championship with the University of Texas back in 2012. He said it might be his favorite golf course in the world. He's playing better than he's played in a long time. So I could definitely see his enthusiasm both for the state of his game and, for the place that he's in, kind of combining to give him a good week. You can kind of look at it. You can look at it two ways with Spieth, right? Like, you can say, hey, if he starts driving the ball a little bit better and takes everything else that he's had over the last 2 weeks, he's going to be in really good shape. And I think that's true. The flip side of that is you can say that he's done more, he's maxed out what he could get out of the game he brought the last 2 weeks. It's like the guy in poker who keeps calling with flush draws and hitting, and you can do that a couple of times, but you can't do it every time, and so I don't know, this could go either direction. It's like the two guys who run to first base and it takes them the same amount of time to do it, but one of them does it with terrible form and the other one does it with good form. Which guy do you take? You take the guy with the terrible form, because when he figures that part out, he's going to blow by the other guy.
Yeah.
So you could argue it that way with Spieth too. So I think Cantlay's a safer pick, but I respect the going with your heart over your head, because I would love to see him in contention again.
Nice. Group C, another stacked group. We've got Francesco Molinari, Gary Woodland.
I mean, this is better than Group A was last week. Francesco Molinari, who is a newly minted member at Riviera, Gary Woodland, Daniel Berger, Ricky Fowler, Tony Finau, Matthew Wolff. A couple guys I'll strike off the list early. Fowler's got no form. Can't take him.
His game's dog shit at the minute. He really struggles.
His game, there's nothing good about it. I mean, he's hitting the ball poorly. He's putting poorly. He's doing everything poorly. And I also think, too, now you're starting to add into that mix pressure he hasn't felt before, like to keep his place in the game. That here was a guy that was an automatic automatic to be in the field at every major championship, and he's staring down the barrel and missing most of them this year. And that's a real shock to the system of a guy who's been a top player for so long. To now be playing just to have the opportunity to play. I think is it's a lot of pressure. So I think to have that kind of pressure thrown on top of the fact that you just don't have it, I think it's going to be tough. Finau doesn't strike me as a great fit for this golf course. Again, like, length is not a huge help. You have to be a very good iron player here. Matthew Wolff, for the same reason, I'm not a huge fan of this week. He's a Southern Cal guy, so he's probably pretty familiar with the golf course. I think Gary Woodland has not shown us much lately, though he's had a couple of decent finishes so far early in 2021. I don't see a reason not to go with Daniel Berger again.
Yeah, I think Daniel, his ball striking was out this world. Like, he was pure in it. He was rolling his putts in. So, that combination is, contends at most golf courses. So I like the Daniel Berger pick. I think for Finau is a bit of an oversight from you. I do. I think his iron play is sublime. He's a birdie machine when he gets going. He's a pin hunter. Look at he's had 2 top 5s in his last 2 starts, I think.
It's funny. Golf. Yeah, that's a fair point. He took a week off, and I'd kind of forgotten about those 2 weeks.
Yeah, he had a good finish at Abu Dhabi. He played well.
Right.
So, I think he's coming in quiet because he's been on the European tour. I think he could be missed by some players.
And I agree that if you're trying to look for a low ownership pick there, because Berger just won, I think he's going to get most of the love in Group C. So I think if you're looking to go, a little bit of a contrarian play, Finau's playing well, so why not? I think that's probably a good call.
Yeah.
Group D.
You know the golf. I'm always hesitant with these picks this week because I know you know the golf course so well. And when you put, although obviously you God by any stretch of the imagination get everything right, I still respect your call. So, I am a bit nervous to pick him given you know the course so well. But I can't ignore his form. I can't ignore his ball striking. I think he's going to be up there this week.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're playing well, you're playing well. It doesn't matter what your style is. And to my point earlier about this golf course, that it can accommodate a wide range of styles. The one that I don't think it accommodates particularly well, though it can, you've seen it at times. I think part of why Tiger has not had a ton of success at this golf course is that erratic driving is costly. That you just can't you drive the ball out of position you just can't get to some of the flags, and you get yourself on the wrong, and there's places where, like Riviera is not a golf course where you're going to make a lot of nines. It's not laden with a ton of there's no water hazards really. There's a Branca that comes semi into play in a couple of spots, but not really, but it's the kind of place where you will lose a half shot all the time.
Yeah.
And it will, if you don't have your best, it will just paper cut you to death the whole day. And so I think if Finau can put the ball in play off the tee and can drive it in the fairway, I absolutely think he can be a threat.
Group
D,
another strong one.
Max Homa, who snuck his way up on the leaderboard on Sunday a little bit at Pebble. Victor Hovland, who I feel like I haven't seen in a while. Sepp Straka, Maverick McNeely, Doc Redmond, Scotty Scheffler. Maverick McNeely had an awfully solid Sunday at Pebble, and you could chalk that up to this guy knows this golf course really well.
He grew up on it with a rich dad.
Yeah, his dad used to have a house on the golf course, so he obviously knows it very well. That might have been kind of a horses for courses thing. But given that form last week, I mean, this has been kind of an emerging pattern. But, I'm going to take Maverick McNeely. You look at the 4 guys I've taken. It's DJ, who just won. Cantlay, who just finished top 4 or whatever he was. I think he might have been runner-up. Berger, who just won. Maverick McNeely, who finished second, actually. And I think Cantlay was tied for third with Spieth. So I'm going off form more than I'm going off of, kind of who I think is going to come around. But I think you could go with. I mean, Homa played well. I don't know. It's a hard group.
It's a tough group. McNeely would be the standout if you're looking at purely off form. But I'm going to pick a guy who people are going to forget was in contention a couple of weeks ago at Torrey, and that's Victor Hovland, who looked very, very comfortable being in contention. He really impressed me the way he handled himself. Patrick Reed got the win, but Hovland looked like he belonged there. Like he's sort of elevated his game a little bit now. Like you can tell he's worked a fuck ton in the short game. That's no longer being talked about as a particular weakness. He's shown some good tidy skills around the green, and he looked fucking comfortable, man. He's really looking strong.
He didn't play. It felt like he hasn't played for a few weeks. Like I don't know if he played it. Did he go overseas?
No, I think he lost. I think his last was his last event. Not Tour. He's taking 2 weeks off. He took the waste. Did he play the waste management? I don't think he played the waste management. He didn't play at Pebble. Might have just had 2 weeks off, ready for it's a busy stretch of golf we're about to enter. So
yeah, that's true. That's definitely.
Don't blame him at all. So yeah, Victor Hovland's my pick.
And his game strikes me as the kind of game that suits this golf course really well. Fairways, greens. The greens at Riviera are not big either. I think a lot of people like the guys you see have success at Pebble, I think are likely to have success here too. I think the kinds of traits that serve you in good stead there serve you in good stead here. So I think Victor Hovland's ability to hit fairways, hit greens, solid quality ball striking, that's gonna, he's not gonna have to make a crazy amount of putts to win here. You hit a lot of greens here, you make a couple of birdies on the par fives. I mean, if you shoot 3 under 4 times, I think you'll take 12 under and see what happens. I don't know if that'll win, but it'll be close. That's for sure. So I don't think this golf course taxes his weaknesses. I think it auditions his strengths. So I think that's probably a good choice, but we'll see. Group E, Bubba Watson, who loves this place. Matt Kuchar, Sergio Garcia, Matt Fitzpatrick, Abe Answer, Charlie Hoffman. Charlie Hoffman, as he does every year, is having a pretty good West Coast swing. He was a guy that was destined for Group F, but bumped himself up to Group E with a pretty strong week at Pebble last week. Kuchar, not a lot of form lately. Fitz, has Fitz been playing in Europe?
He didn't play Abu Dhabi. I think he last played in Dubai. No, he might have played in Abu Dhabi. Didn't play in Saudi Arabia. I think he played 2 weeks ago on the European Tour.
Yeah, I just don't feel like I've seen much of him lately. I think I just don't know enough about the state of his game currently. Abe Answer seems like a guy whose game fits this golf course. And throw out Kuchar. Bubba Watson, I can't remember. What has Bubba Watson been doing lately? Let's have a look.
He missed the cut the waste management, I think. He was hovering around par for the majority of Thursday and Friday.
He ended up shooting 65 on Sunday to finish tied 22nd in
Who,
Phoenix.
Watson
Not
did?
bad. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Not bad. Missed the cut at Torrey Pines. And other than that, he hadn't played since the Masters. So kind of hard to get a sense there. I mean, he's a guy who's a big horses for courses guy, and he likes this golf course. So he deserves a little bit of something just for that.
100%.
God. But he's such a liability. Like, he's that guy that if he's just not feeling it, like, you could see him checking out and shooting like 76, 75, missing the cut by a mile.
Yeah, man. I'll jump in while you're working your pick out, Sam, because I'm going to go for someone who I don't know his form much, but who was playing amazing golf at the back end of last year, and who, judging from your description, would play well here. And that's Fitzpatrick. He's an accurate golfer, and he puts well.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a good golf course fit for him. I just, what are his results?
But then
lately?
Sergio, Sam, like Sergio could quite easily pull out a top 5 week.
Yeah, and he's another guy, like, you know, I don't feel like I've seen him.
To be fair, there've been big events on the European Tour that he's been playing in.
So Fitz finished top 20 at Dubai, missed the cut at Abu Dhabi. Other than that, we haven't seen him really since the fall. Seems a little early in his season, maybe. What did Abe Answer do recently?
I can't remember seeing Abe Answer much anywhere either, to be honest.
Tied 53rd at the Saudi. He finished top 5 in Palm Springs. Missed the cut at Stony. Didn't play particularly well at Kapalua. I like his game for this, but I just doesn't. I'm gonna regret this choice. This is gonna be the one I really end up feeling badly about in hindsight. I'm going with Hassel Hoffman.
There you go. He's got a W here, hasn't he?
Yes. I mean, I think, he's the kind of guy that is a streaky player. You know, I've obviously been big on form this week, so I'm going with Hoff. I'm gonna.
It's not a bad shout. There will be a few rogue names who sneaked away in the top 20, even though it's such a packed field. There's always a few surprises. And Hoffman's got good memories at Riviera. He's very much a form guy, putting together a decent California stretch, low ownership pick. It might not be the most stupid choice. For me, I'm going Fitzpatrick. Yeah, he missed the cut his last time out, but you got to think fairways and greens are a good recipe here, especially. And when he's hot with a putter, there's not many better with that stroke he's got. So I'm going Fitzpatrick for the low ownership and for the feel that he's got the game to get it done there.
And I think if you get the B game out of everybody in this group, Fitzpatrick wins. If you get the A game out of everybody in this group, maybe Bubba Watson wins.
Nah, I like Sergio over Bubba. I know Bubba. You're right in saying he only plays where he thinks he can compete, but Sergio's ball striking. I mean, when that guy's on, it's beautiful.
True. That's definitely true.
But I see what you mean.
I'm gonna regret. I just like if this were in the middle of the season and you had looked at some results for Fitz, you know, like in the last 2 months and seen a few of those top 20s kind of stack up, I think he'd be an easier guy for me to pick. But it seems a little early in the season versus Hoffman, who seems to kind of be like already in the thick of it, you know. Group F: Brant Snedeker, J.B. Holmes, Jim Furyk, Lucas Glover, Padraig Harrington, Charles Howell. My first thought is I was amazed Harrington was listed in the field. That if he was out with COVID last week, isn't that a 2-week quarantine?
Unless he's doing some home testing. Fuck knows.
J.B. Holmes has had success at this golf course before, but I just haven't seen anything from him. This is the kind of golf course Furyk can still hang on. He wouldn't be the world's worst choice. Charles Howell wouldn't be the world's worst choice. Snedeker's been playing poorly. Furyk played okay last week. I'm going with Furyk.
Furyk People are sleeping on Jim Furyk. He's putting some good performances, man. He was solid at Pebble Beach. He's a big reason why I got the win. I won by a fucking country mile this week, by the way, just to put it out there, ladies and gents. I won by like maybe 15, 20 shots. But Jim Furyk was a big part of that. He played some fucking good stuff. I remember watching him at the US Open 2019, and he looked so comfortable there. In courses where length isn't a huge thing, it's not a Riviera. Like, there's no reason why Jim Furyk or a Stricker can't compete still, because they're still that elite from the fairway and with the short irons.
Yeah, he's got 20 years of experience at this golf course too. He knows kind of how to plot his way around. Furyk finished top 25, tied 21st last week.
He's not done. Furyk's not. Let me tell you that. Like, mark my words, Jim Furyk has another win left in him on the PGA Tour for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
When did you shoot the 59? How long ago was that? 3-4 years?
Wasn't that long ago. That's a good question. You shot 58.
Yeah, sorry, 58.
That was in 2016.
That's not miles away.
No.
No, I like Jim Furyk still. I think he's been written off too early. I fancy Jim Furyk for a win this year.
He's got kind of the reverse Phil Mickelson thing going on, where he's down the middle of the fairways all the time, like at the right golf courses where you don't have to hit the ball huge. He's still, his iron play is still probably well up there. So I don't think he's a bad choice. Let's move on to the parlays.
On him now.
These have been a lot of fun, and this week they're especially going to be fun just because of how good the field is. So here is the first matchup. DJ, minus 125. Rory, minus 105. So that's DJ as a slight favorite. The odds are not a huge factor here. There's not enough of a gulf between them that it makes a big difference. I like DJ. I mean, he's my Group 1 guy. I like DJ here.
I like DJ, but is the Ryder Cup draws ever nearer? I can't help but side with European Tour players when it comes to these head-to-heads. I mean, DJ is the logical choice here, but there's no reason Rory McIlroy can't go and shoot a 64. He is that good. It's not like I'm picking like a fucking out of form Ricky Fowler against a DJ. It's still Rory McIlroy, and it's one round of golf, and I'm taking him as the outside on this one.
John Rahm, minus 120. Justin Thomas, minus 110.
Oh, this is fucking... That's a tough one because there's barely no advantage in the odds. So it's just like, who do you like for a lower score? Period.
I'm going with Justin Thomas. I think this golf course is a great fit for him. I think, as a good iron and wedge player, I think he'll be able to kind of plot his way around. I don't think he'll have to go crazy with the putter and make a ton of birdies. I think it's a good golf course fit for him, so I'm going to go with Justin Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no psychologist, right? But I don't know where his head's at after his granddad's died. Like, he obviously struggled.
Yeah.
I don't know how that factors in. It could factor in very positively, where he's had maybe time to mourn a little bit, and he's got his head screwed up. Like, he's the last time we saw him was it was straight. It was the day after his granddad had died. It was very, very new, very raw. I'm not saying he's still not mourning. It's the death of a family member, but at the same time, maybe he's got like a more, considered outlook on how he's going to approach the week, and it could work well for him. And it could be a beautiful moment if he goes out there and wins. So it could go one of two ways. I like the way he's been playing golf. Bar that Sunday. I'm going to go JT. I'm rooting for him. I want something good for him. You know what it is? Like he's due a win. He's had some sort of he's had some hurdles to deal with, shall we say? This would be a good one to stick it to the man and get a win. So I'm backing Justin. Another pick from the heart. But then that said, I mean, I still think JT's best this week is better than Jon Rahm's best this week.
Yeah, and I just think Rahm gets a little squirrely off the tee at times, and his game gets just a little bit looser than Justin Thomas's game, I think. Yeah. And I think that, I just think Rahm will make more bogeys. He might make more birdies too, but I think he'll make more bogeys. This is a hard one. Koepka minus 135, Xander Schauffele even. So this is of these three, this is the only one where there's a decent spread in the odds. I would, there's another one where it's like, if you take 10 rounds, Koepka's 3 best are probably going to beat Schauffele's 3 best, but Schauffele's middle 3 and bottom 4 might beat Koepka's middle 3 and bottom 4. So if you wanted a better price, Schauffele wouldn't be the worst pick. I don't love the fit for Koepka at this golf course that much. I think it's a very strategic golf course, and this is mean, but he doesn't strike me as a very sharp guy. And so I think, he just seems like one of those guys that when he has it going, he's firing at flags and doesn't really like put a ton of thought into positioning the golf ball. So, and Schauffele conversely strikes me as a guy who does. So I see the course fit better for Schauffele than I do for Koepka. I think Koepka's game is better. I don't know. I mean,
the determining factor for me here, Sam, is it's Thursday, not Sunday, and the stat that immediately stands out for me is Schauffele's 94% from inside 10 feet. Like, I don't know what his scoring average is, but you got to think that equates to a solid score on Thursday, no matter if he's got his best stuff or not. Xander Schauffele for the first 3 days has been as good as anyone for quite a long time now. Like, I was so impressed with the short game on Friday and Saturday at the Waste Management. He was looking really tidy, impatient, and elite. And just for the sheer price difference, I think Xander's worth the punt, especially when it's Thursday, given the fact it's Thursday.
You're right. I absolutely think you're right about that. And I agree with your point about short game. Like, I mean, a little bit of this is kind of self-serving because it was always kind of how I navigated my way around that golf course. But, like, I think chipping and putting can be such a differentiator. It is the Kikuyu grass, and granted you, it mostly lies dormant in the rough this time of year. So, like, you're not chipping as much out of it, but it still is what the fairways are, is Kikuyu grass. And chipping, you have to be very good at landing at knowing what the ball is going to do when it lands on your spot and hitting your spot. And, because it can be with the Kikuyu grass, if you're trying to land a ball a yard on and instead you land it a yard short, that can end up being a 30-foot difference in the outcome, because if you land it short of the green, it sticks in the Kikuyu, and if you land it a yard too far, it might catch down, whatever. So having a tidy short game at a golf course that can paper cut you to death, you can band-aid a lot of those paper cuts getting it up and down around the greens. So I think I don't think that's a bad choice. There's some other great matchups, people who are interested in doing these. Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay, Adam Scott, Hideki Matsuyama. There's a Spieth and Thomas. There's Fowler Molinari. There's Maverick McNeely and Scotty Scheffler. There's a lot of really great groups. So this is a fun week for the parlays game.
What I will say, especially for the parlay, Sam, on the matchups that we've just done, is the sheer reward for the price not being that different on at least the first two matchups. If you look at those three matchups, the risk to reward is so worth it. Like, I've put 2,000 points in, and I'll return 14,000. And you look at the matchups, and there's a fucking good chance I win. There's a good chance all three win. Especially when you consider the biggest variant is Xander Schauffele, Brooks Koepka. I don't think the ratios are correct for those particular players on a Thursday. I think Schauffele is a great shout for anyone who's wanting to win some substantial points. Like, 14,000 points get you a lot of shit. No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's cool about the parlays game is that, on one day, and you can have, 4 days in a row where if you hit twice in a week, your golf for the next week's covered, which is a cool thing and part of the fun of the parlays game and why we instituted it. And I think we've seen a lot of people who kind of started out as like more of the traditional fantasy players that have gravitated towards the parlays game because of just how much fun it is. And, it's fun tracking, like, sometimes with those group bets, it's not easy to, like if you're in a head-to-head matchup, you might be able to see what the other guy's doing. But as far as the pick 'em pool goes, it's hard to keep track of 36 guys at once. So this, you can really get it down to, here are 3 heads-up contests. You're tracking them on your screen all day, and you know what it takes to win. So it's going to be a fun week.
Yeah. There's
golf
multiple
course.
combinations as well, Sam. You can go out and lay your bet off, like, and go through and do the same matchups with different players. Maybe you look at 3 matchups and you think 2 of them are tight, so you're gonna go the other. You're gonna lay that bet with other options for the tight games and keep it with one guy for the game where you think there's no chance that he loses. There's options here. There's different strategies you can employ. Like you say, it focuses your attention on a certain amount of players, which is always fun for definitely Thursday and Friday viewing. Gives it more impotence, gives it more zest, energy, excitement. And when point equal prizes, man. Like at the end of the day, it could pay for your golf. It could pay for a Scotty Cameron. When I get 20,000 points, Scotty Cameron's coming my way. That's my goal.
Yeah, so I think that one of the cool things about the parlays too is that come Sunday, you can really focus the attention of your action on the guys at the top of the board too.
For sure.
So like, maybe on a Sunday when it's the head-to-head, like the standard fantasy format, the head-to-heads, you have to pick from 6 different groups. Well, only the first group or 2 is going to have guys who are in the league, guys who are on TV.
Yeah.
But you can do a parlay where everybody in the parlay is going to be a key feature of the telecast. So, as far as like an enhanced second screen experience, it's a lot of fun, and I hope our listeners take advantage of it.
Sam, been a pleasure once again, my man. I'll catch you next week.
Sounds good, brother.
Take it easy, man. Bye-bye.
You too.